I thought that now that I am doing this series of readings from the book, some of you might want to know how it came to be. I didn't set out to write this Jewish life. I was looking for a book of uplifting contemporary Jewish stories, and I couldn't find one. A little voice inside of me said, "Okay, Deborah, you write it." I tried for quite a while to ignore the voice. Who, me? Write a book? Eventually, the voice won out. And the first thing that people usually think when they hear the phrase Jewish stories are tales of the shtetl, like I.B. Singer, or tales of the Holocaust. And I'm in no way diminishing these genres. But I wanted to find different stories. I wanted to find stories of today's Jews living Jewish life and find stories of their connections to Judaism that had gifted them with life changing experiences. Bit by bit, I began finding interviewees, and I realized that these stories, I really wanted them to be told in the first person. I wanted my readers to be experiencing the life that my interviewees were talking about as if they were right in their pocket, as if they were experiencing the story themselves. I also wanted the book to inform gently. There's plenty of Jews who have gaps in their education, and intermarriage is bringing more and more families and cultures together, people who might have had little exposure, if any, to Jewish traditions. And I realized that this was going to be a book, if it became a book, that would be shared across the table. So bit by bit, I started interviewing people I knew, but needed to cast my net wider. So many of the people in the book I've never met, we've just communicated by phone. And the process that involved would be talking to someone over the phone, taking pages and pages of notes, sitting with the story, sitting with their voice in my ear. And it would be up to me to find the heart of the story, to portray the tension and the turning points, to bring the story to a meaningful and uplifting close. When I would have my first draft ready, I would make an appointment with my interviewee, and sometimes they would say, "Oh, just mail me the story." And I learned to insist that I really needed to read it back to them. I needed the connection with these people I hadn't met. I needed to know immediately if there was a detail that I had missed or misconstrued, or if sometimes something else would jog their memory, something they wanted to add to the story. And having that live phone connection was crucial to recreating their story as if they were actually telling it in the 5 pages that I was giving each story. Quite often, I would hear that this was the first time they'd ever told anyone the story. Sometimes people would break down and cry, having told me something so important that might have laid hidden, and finally hearing it in a cohesive whole. Others said that it lifted a weight from their hearts to have been able to relate the story. Some said it was kind of like a therapy session, and I could understand that because the telephone kind of takes away all details. They don't have to look at me. They can just, my interviewees were in their own homes, in the comfort of a special place, as they drew forth what they wanted to tell me. And I began to realize and understand that I was less an author than the recipient of a fellow human's deepest truths. And my responsibility was to bring that truth to light in the most coherent, beautiful, honored way that I could. And while these are Jewish stories, the themes underlying them are universal. How do we find meaning in life? How do we cope when life thrashes us to the ground? What about when our kids make untoward choices? Does our faith have a place in that? Or when we're struggling with addiction and abuse? How do we choose which traditions to adapt and which to preserve? I hope you enjoy these videos that I'm beginning to make, and of course, this Jewish life can be yours with a quick trip to Amazon. Thank you so much for being here and listening.